Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of Vulnerable.
And the past 2 have been about turkeys.
Yeah.
It is turkey season.
It is
turkey season here in
Yeah.
Ohio.
You don't enjoy it at all.
So you see something's missing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I took down the old dinosaur, and I'm like, so I like just going out in the mornings and hearing them gobble. I like hearing birds gobble. And I'm not taking any turkey hunters. And I do have some properties that have decent turkey numbers and stuff. And other than Tracy and Trevor being here, I don't have any turkey hunters. And it was like, one thing I haven't done is I think I would like to bow kill one without a blind. Just be behind a tree or whatever. Try and bow kill one.
Will you have to draw back behind the tree? And then,
I'll just, so granted, I got decoy out, and I'll just wait for. The problem's going to be if there's 2 or 3 of them, but I will just wait for his fan to be blocked, till his fan's behind, and then I'll draw and hold till everything's right.
You want to solo cam it too?
And I've been filming it.
Yeah, he showed me tell him about the crane.
Yesterday morning, we do not have a whole lot of Sandhill Cranes around here.
Right.
There's a pair that has been nesting around my house, but I'm sure this was none of them. And they're very. There's a couple trumpeter swans. Have you ever had the trumpeter swans fly over? I mean, it sounds like a kid's horn on his bicycle.
Really?
Like,
oh yeah, I have. Now I know that. Now I know what he's talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're wild sounding too. But the Sandhill Cranes are just kind of, and I could hear him coming from a long distance. And when I push record, and I could see his feet. He was like right there. He flew right over the top of me.
I thought he was in the tree.
No, he was flying.
Oh,
he was flying by.
He was making that. It was that loud flying by.
Yes, he was making that loud flying by.
You need to send me that video, and I'll play it because
I'll send it to you. Chris,
when I heard the video, I go, "Is that a pterodactyl? What is that?"
It sounds like a pterodactyl.
Yeah.
And they hunt them in Texas, and you shoot one of them things, it's like you best not. It puts an indent in the ground, like they're big.
You said they were
They call it ribeye in the sky.
He said they must be good.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
I've
heard it before.
Do they kill? Do they kill them in Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
They got
Texas.
a shit ton of them.
I think so.
We're not allowed to kill them.
It's almost like a duck season down there.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, and they're big. They are big.
Wow.
It almost kind of looks like a blue heron in the sky or whatever.
I'm gonna have to watch some YouTube videos on that.
Yeah,
I wonder.
pretty cool.
Wonder how they do they. I'm gonna ask questions like we all know, none of us probably do. Decoy? Do they decoy them? Do they? Do you know? Anybody know? Chris is looking it up.
Yeah, I'm already on that.
Okay.
I have no idea.
So I'm looking at the bag limit too for those.
The bag limit.
I don't think there's. Okay.
You can't probably shoot a Sandhill Crane in Ohio, can you?
I probably would think not. Yeah.
I don't think so.
They're kind of like, I'm guessing like like a bald eagle, you barely ever see them, right?
Correct. The two I will throughout the summer. I will hear them.
Really?
I'll hear them at night around here.
That's a question.
More than a pheasant. Jeez.
What percent? We barely have any.
I used to hear pheasants here, and I don't hear them no more
because of the CRP. It's just like the thing we talked about with the turkey.
Yeah,
it's all farmland.
No CRP. A guy a couple miles that way, he probably releases some that make it or whatever, and I'll occasionally hear one from there. But other than that, it's been a long time since I've seen a pheasant.
Yeah, I'm going to tell a quick story about pheasants. Our grandpa, Tom Arbogast, shout out Tom. He owned 100 and
behind the ice cream shop.
Yeah, behind the ice cream shop, he owned 110 acres, and it was all CRP. And then the government built the 20-acre wetland back there. It was beautiful, and then they built it in an L shape, and they put a ditch, and then they would drain it, and Grandpa would plant corn in it, and then flood it for
duck hunting.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then so what he used that land for, the government allowed him to do pheasant hunting, quail, and did he have doves?
Dove too.
Doves?
Yeah, because he still has that. He has the pin still.
Yep. So I was 10 years old, and my job was to go into before I worked at the ice cream shop, because Grandma hadn't had that yet. My job, I'd live with Grandma and Grandpa in the summers, And my job was to go into the 2 pheasant pens with a pheasant per each pen. They were about football field size pens. And he cut 55-gallon drums in half and put 2 holes in them. And you lifted them up and you got all the eggs. They laid the eggs. Then I take them back to the barn and then I put them in the incubator. Yep. And then then when the season came in, whatever the government allowed him, hunters would come in, they'd buy pheasant, and then we'd go out and we'd do you have to shake them. Yep.
Shake
and
and bake. Yep.
their heads sit, for everybody that doesn't know, their heads sit in the center and you shake them and it kind of makes them dizzy. Then
you like tuck their head up underneath their wing
tuck their
when
head,
you plant them?
Exactly.
Yep.
Tuck their head up under their wing. You kind of stuff them under some grass. And then you set however many the hunter paid for. And then there's some extra pheasant in there that other hunters didn't recover or shoot. And then we ran pointing dogs, and you go out and you shoot them. And like everybody's like, it's kind of like high fence deer, but it really wasn't. It was kind of like you're just setting pheasant and then you're hunting pheasant But I mean, it was kind of fun because Grandpa would take us out after a few weeks of hunters paying for pheasant, and then he'd take us pheasant hunting
and catch the ones that didn't get shot.
We'd hunt the ones that didn't get shot. It was fun. I mean, for a 10-year-old kid, and I did that 10, 11, 12, 13, and then started working my grandma's ice cream business because then Grandpa sold the land and it was farmed. But 10, 11, 12, 13, being in a mule, driving, getting eggs, I mean, how fun of a job is that for a kid? That was pretty awesome.
They say like 2 out of 100 will make it. Like if people will go have CRP and go release them or whatever. Yeah, they say like 2 out of 100.
I believe that. Yeah, not very intelligent.
Red-tailed hawks around here are like sitting ducks.
What did you find on the ribeyes in the sky? What are they called?
Sandhill Cranes. You're able to basically central flyway states, so like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, North, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico are definite. And then Minnesota, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama are through drawings.
Really? I didn't think it'd be that far north.
Wow.
So what's just one bag limit in like Texas or whatever?
Minnesota has a limit of 1
per day or per year?
It says it's daily.
Oh, daily limit
per day.
Yeah.
And then possession limit of 3. So I don't know what that means.
Probably you can only shoot 3 or you can only have 3 at one time if you're eating one.
You can only have 3 in the deep freezer or something.
Yeah.
I'm guessing if they're in Kentucky, with the kind of the way the migratory bird system.
They're starting to expand a little bit. I was going to say if we're getting them.
In Ohio, maybe if they're in Kentucky, maybe in southern Ohio, and it'll work its way up. We'll be out there shooting the pterodactyls in the sky.
I heard through watching a couple YouTube videos, those birds, if you shoot them and you got a dog, they actually put goggles on dogs because those cranes will poke their eyes out.
No shit.
Yeah, they wear like almost skydiving goggles. They'll put them on a lab, and the dog will run out because they're so big and whatnot that their heads
That would be an
turn.
awesome GoPro on the dog, wouldn't it?
Yes. That's actually funny you say that. I can't believe nobody's ever put a GoPro like a bird dog. Like I've never seen a video of that. They put them on cats that run through neighborhoods. They can't put them on a dog that picks up birds and geese.
True.
That'd be awesome.
I never thought about that.
Or a pointing.
A pointing dog?
Yeah, that'd be cool because he's looking right at it. You got a little clearing. That's a cool idea. That's a good idea. Yeah.
So we, after talking about turkeys for 2 episodes, I say we kind of move on with, from our minerals. I think our last deer one was
food plots, but it was minerals. So tell everybody what go ahead.
So, so I kind of have been thinking that to move on from our mineral sites, we were kind of saying we wanted to be elementary through PhD, and we want to talk about different situations and different situations as far as what your property is good for, what dates is good for, and you and I both, our minds are always working all the time. Now, I'm laying in bed or I'm mowing and just the wheels are always turning. And, but something, basically every property that I have, I kind of, I guess in a way term, every property has different VDays. Every property has a different VDay.
So going because vulnerable, the word
vulnerable.
Joel was the one that has had the word vulnerable and what it meant in his head for several years. And then you also said that you also kind of thought about explain what V-Day means to you, because you've always thought it but never said it.
So it's like if I have 35 different parcels, whether I know it or not, in the back of my mind, I kind of know when each property is going to be its most effective at killing a deer. Like this farm might be November rut only. This farm, any farm can have a shooter on it that I get excited about and I'm trying to kill for the opener and into October, or a farm might not have nothing on it and I'm just capitalizing on December and January. So I guess what I'm saying is that every farm has different vulnerable days.
V-Days.
Yeah, every farm has different vulnerable days.
You like that, Chris? V-Days?
Yeah, I do like
You
that.
know,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good idea.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, Joel's like, I've always
So
thought it.
basically, when you have a property, kind of know when your best hunting, your best V-Days are, and if you have something that's only rut or only late season, you have to be able to capitalize on things and do things to make your property the best for those days.
Yes. I think that is, I mean, when you said it to me, I was like, that just makes so much sense. It correlated with me, and now I just can't stop thinking about it ever since you told me about it, because I think it's fantastic.
The game wardens and stuff, and the state wants you to shoot your does early. But, if you got a big giant deer on your property, who wants to be shooting a doe in September and October or whatever?
Right.
But if you're a rut property or a late season only property, shoot some does early on. Shoot some does
Gotcha.
early on your farm.
So I know we kind of have we want to talk about some things, but you just brought up a good point. Can we talk through what you just said a little bit? Because I want to hear.
So I kind of wanted to, something you never hear when somebody shoots a big deer, you never hear about exactly what went down, the steps that go to try and, so other words, I want to do situational stuff, talk about, okay, this situation and what did you do?
Yeah.
Type thing. So we had the mineral sites out, and you were fortunate enough, and so you either had a suspicion of a 3 or 4 year old that you thought could blow up, or you have a big deer that didn't get killed, and so on your mineral sites that you're doing your inventorying on, boom, you have a giant deer that has you excited.
Right.
And just go through, the situation on what you do when that occurs.
I mean, so we need to talk about the different situations and the different times of the season, that the V-Days that you
Correct.
picked.
Yes.
Right.
And then we'll talk about in other episodes. We'll talk about, so you have nothing you want to shoot. You just have a bunch of does. So what are you going to do? What's your best avenue to go towards to keep all these does here, and what's going to be your V-Days then? Or if you have no deer but your neighbors have a lot of deer, what you need to do to have around here, I guess it depends upon where you're at in the United States and everything, because if you have winter, you can have food, and everybody around is going to, you can make December and January your V-Days.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I just wanted to talk about if you have a big giant on your property, on your mineral site that we talked about, how many mineral sites. Do we need to recap? I mean,
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't think we have
mineral sites.
I don't think we have to recap. I think so. I think what we do have to recap, though, is you said if you have a buck hard horned after. Okay.
Yes. So he's there.
What real quick though? What I do want you to recap is reiterate what percentage roughly of those bucks that you see in the early season on your mineral sites, what percent stay and you see hard horned after?
I mean, you just cross your fingers and hope.
Is it 50%?
Yeah.
50%?
Yeah, I would say maybe 50 and under.
50 and
50
under.
and under.
Yeah, because I think that's
Actually rub out. And now, with that said, I'll have them rub out. They're hard horned. That usually happens here September the 10, 11, 12, September the 10th through the 15th or somewhere through there is when they're pretty much rubbed out and hard horned. So I'm saying they may stay there through October, the beginning of October and they're gone, or, but
what's your
so our season doesn't open until the end of September. So, you just, and everything is variable. The beans that are green, if they got planted late and they're still green, or if we were dry like we were last year, the beans are dried up and done. It's been dry. There's no water on your property. Oaks are starting to drop and you don't have no oaks on your land, or if the crop rotation is real big too. Most of my farms they're different if they're beans or corn. Basically corn is like 100 acres of extra woods.
You know what's amazing to me, Chris, is that like most people, me and you and 99.9% of the population have to hunt 1 or 2 properties if we're lucky. Joel is hunting, 30 to 40 parcels, and he has to, and I'm just talking out loud because you have to dissect what you're just talking. I've never even thought about that at that level, because you're talking about the drought. If we had a drought this year, your tree stands on the property change. If there's beans, your tree stands change. If there's corn, the tree stand. If the beans are green, or what you just said is I'm kind of appreciating what Joel's saying.
It's kind of nothing is set in stone.
Yeah,
nothing is set in stone.
What you're saying is your opener. You have never probably had the same opener over the last 26 years.
No.
Your opening week has never been the same ever.
No. It's changed. It's different all the time.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, different all the time.
Did you ever think of that?
No.
So if I get a giant deer and he's on a mineral site, and it is now, end of June, beginning of July. So it's basically bubble wrap on that property now.
What do you mean by bubble wrap?
By bubble wrap, I mean, if I was going to go do work there, I'm not doing anything there now.
You don't walk on that property?
No.
You said June, July?
Yeah, I mean, if it comes the end of June, beginning of July, and I have a giant deer on my property,
Do I have something right there?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
And I have a giant deer on my property. I am, it's now like you basically hold your breath when you, so I'll keep the camera rolling on the mineral site, usually a cell cam, but be it on a rainy day, what I'm about to tell you will probably blow your mind, but so on a rainy day or whatever, I will go in, and this was on a property that I was taking customers, and I had a big deer. He was going to be in the 70s, but he was probably 6 or 7 years old. And I've been trying to kill this deer, and he was there again, and he only has one eye. And but I went in there and on probably 60. I mean, it's a big farm, but basically on 60 acres or whatever. So the cell camera is on the mineral site. And I think there may have been 2 pictures of him on the mineral site the entire summer. And then I had 11 so that's another tip that I do. I had 11 cameras up with good, reliable cameras with memory cards, not cell cameras, just memory cards. And so if they're there, and I just want camera rolling June, July, August, I'll pick them up in September. So the cameras are rolling for like 3 or 4 months, cell cameras. So if you have 10, 11, if you have a bunch of cell cameras up, you pull them all, and they're going to tell you a story. I mean, they're going to tell you kind of. So I had 11 cameras up on that deer for 3 or 4 months. He was on one camera.
How often on that one camera?
Several times.
How far apart?
I mean, I'm talking a camera 50 yards over here, a camera 60 yards over here.
That was my question.
He was on one camera.
So are you saying he
I'm
was?
saying that they are very, no matter when the time of year is, they are very meticulous and very on how they lived. They're on how, they get to be 5, 6, 7. They're very meticulous on how they live their life. So he did not walk by
Do you think
any other cameras.
You're saying that he might have been bedded very close to that one camera, walking, eating, drinking, shitting very closely, sitting
This
back,
was
laying
standing.
back down.
This was standing corn.
So you were kind of.
I was around lots of. I was on waterways, perimeters. Kind of there. It was creek, waterways, an ocean of standing corn.
Do deer? I don't know the answer to this question.
I mean, he didn't leave me, but he would just be, on every 3, 4, 5 days. Boom, I got him on this camera. Got him on this camera.
Do they legitimately live in the corn when the corn's up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
They like grassy areas. If there's an area that's kind of got some grass in it or whatever, they will.
Tall grass, short
yeah,
grass,
some grass, something to bed.
So if you have a hillside that's going up east and the west wind's coming in, you got corn real close to it, and it's kind of tall grassy area. They probably love that kind of area.
This standing cornfield has a little hillside out in the middle of it that's kind of grown up or whatever, and that's where they live at.
So you said there was kind of a story. So tell us that story. What do you think the story was? What was he doing?
So. What was the old One Eye?
Yeah, old One Eye. What was he doing in your opinion?
Didn't kill. I mean,
you never killed him.
Never got One Eye killed again by customers.
What happened to him?
He, I mean, the bad thing is he doesn't. He spends then as the corn is getting ready to come. The corn came off pretty early. Then he doesn't live on me, and I think he leaves.
Got out.
He leaves come October. Yeah.
So do you think he was living in the corn and you're catching him on that one? Why do you think you were catching him on that one camera?
I felt I was going to get him killed, but the neighboring property has a path cut through it, and a 70s or 80-year-old landowner who walks it, goes for a walk every day at 10 o'clock, and because I kind of moved in the creek bottom and had him on a scrape in November, and I kind of thought I had the tree I'd get him killed on, but we did not get him killed.
How long ago was this?
This year.
This year. Okay.
This year.
So do you think that deer was lit? So you have 11 cameras in what kind of radius?
As far as how many acres?
Yeah, I mean, no. The 11, you said I had roughly 11 acres. I had one cell cam, and then I put up
on 40 or 50 acres.
40 or 50 acres.
Yeah.
And then you were getting
Some
pictures.
close together.
You were getting pictures of him on one camera every 4 or 5 days. So where was that camera at? And, where was the cornfield? Where was that camera at? Where was the water? Where was
that camera was at the end of a waterway that went through the cornfield that dumped into water. Dumped into a creek.
Okay.
So basically coming from the standing corn back into water.
So he has green, he had corn, and he had water.
He would eat the clover in that waterway. He would eat clover in that waterway. So then he would be out in the standing corn.
Your opinion is that deer lived in about 100-yard radius?
That deer lived in a very small radius.
Wow.
Yeah, very small radius.
Doesn't even sound fun in life.
Huh?
I mean,
very small radius.
I mean, you live for 11 out of 12 months. You live there, and then you go and try to have sex for a little bit.
Yeah. So the deer behind you is a deer that I had on a property that I hunted, and same had him on a mineral site, and he was there, but I was close to a large parcel of no hunting. So I felt my days were numbered, that he would probably rub out and leave. He rubbed out and didn't leave. So, but let's back up on the same. I don't even think, this was kind of probably pre-cell camera. I just had a Reconyx on a mineral site. And I would go, rainy day, midday, or whatever, I'd go check the mineral site. But then once I knew he was there, I would the same. I didn't have 10 or 11, but I probably had 5, 6, 7 carded cameras in areas strategically placed, and this had creek through it, and then corn and beans. So corn on one side, beans on the other, and so he's now rubbed out. He's still there, hard horned, and so it's getting to be September the teens or whatever, and so all of the cameras I have out, I'm trying to also get his pictures, but I'm also trying to figure out where he doesn't go.
Are you almost trying to figure out like where you can catch him walking back and forth?
So I really didn't know where he bedded or anything, but I know that once he's hard horned and not on the mineral site anymore, I have cameras on funnels. I have cameras on the cornfield. I have cameras, and basically you would get his picture. You would get his picture all the way down here, but you would have his pictures on no other cameras. So
Okay.
none of the funnels, none of the everything. So that kind of made me feel like he would stand up at night and he was just walking out in the open field, and then I would get him down here because this wasn't lots of big timber. This was kind of not a whole lot of timber.
Kind of fingers.
Yes, and kind of a creek situation, wooded creek situation that kind of dumbbelled out at the end of it, surrounded by crops.
Gotcha.
And I would get him here, but nowhere else.
Not from here to here.
Nope.
So he was.
So basically, I think he would just stand up and come out into open field, and
he was doing kind of a half moon shape to here.
yes. So
And by the way, to clarify, you're talking about this 200-inch deer behind me?
yes, that deer right behind you, and so like I said, this place has been bubble wrapped, and so now as we're approaching the season, I just put up basically observatory stands.
How far do you like to sit?
I mean, I feel I am probably 100 to 150 yards. Just
That close?
yeah, it could be a couple hundred yards.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just in a stand with a good wind.
Good win.
And it's now the season's open. I take my bow with me, but I'm in a stand, but I'm observing
Gotcha.
and glassing, and I'm kind of getting to know all the deer there because I see the same deer every time I'm there.
Yep.
But I have never seen him. Never seen him.
And what do you mean? You've never seen him in real life?
Never seen him in real life.
Okay, you've seen him on camera.
Correct.
You're observing.
Seen him on camera.
You're trying to find him.
Correct. So, as it's getting to be now, we're October, maybe October the 5th, 6th, 7th, and this one big doe, she has one big button buck with her, and then there's several little bucks and a couple other does, but this one big doe has one button buck with her, and that day I'm there, and it's October 5th or 6th or 7th, and these little bucks are chasing her in the bean field, standing bean field. The bean field's now brown. There's no green out there, and they're chasing her. And it's kind of loud because you can hear the beans. And
So can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Are you in an observing stand?
I'm in the observing
Okay.
stand.
Gotcha.
But like I said, I got my bow with me.
Gotcha.
And at that time, that commotion and that noise going on, I saw him stand.
He was pissed off.
I saw him stand in his bed, and that's the first time I've laid eyes on him.
Where was he?
He was pretty much at the end of the dumbbell, as I call it. So basically, this creek kind of went in and it turned, but where it turned in the agricultural, it was kind of belled out there.
What do you mean by belled out?
Kind of like if you pick up a dumbbell, kind of like the end of a dumbbell,
Okay.
kind of just,
It was, so describe the terrain. Was the
it's perfectly flat, but it was thick.
It was
It
just
was thick.
Just
It was thick. It was thick with the creek going through it, and
like brush and grass and stickers and
yes,
that kind of thing.
but not timberish, but thickish.
Yep.
And I saw him stand, and he just kind of was watching what was going on, and I think he laid back. I think he laid back down, like he did not walk out in the field or anything.
How far was he from your observing stand?
250 yards. 250 yards.
How long did he stand for?
Couple minutes.
Couple minutes.
Just
and
stood and watched, these. So, but you're thinking whenever 3 little 1.5, 2.5-year-olds are chasing a doe October the 6th or 7th, all over the field, you're just kind of thinking, So, so then maybe 2 or 3 days later, I'm sitting there. I'm back in the observatory stand with the west wind or whatever, and I see the little button buck come out by himself. So the button buck walks out by himself.
The one that was with the mature doe that was being
Correct.
chased by the little bucks.
Correct. And that is something to keep an eye on for does that come in. 10% of the does will come in on the first moon, the October moon.
And what are that's kind of like
And
the
so,
second week of October?
The second week of October, roughly through there, So, and it will typically be a doe that has a great big giant fawn. So I guess what I'm saying is that is probably like a Boone and Crockett button buck. Follow me?
Yes, I do.
That doe is like getting bred by the early does are usually bred by
the biggest bucks.
The man.
Yeah.
Yes. There isn't chasing that goes on. There isn't whatever. They come in heat and they go off with the man.
Yep.
And so then maybe the following day there's a workplace a mile or 2 down the road, and a friend of mine said there is a giant with a doe in the field behind the shop, which was about a mile down the road, 1.5 miles down the road from where I'm hunting.
Yep.
So you put 2 and 2 together. So, all right. So.
And you put 2 and 2 together, just to back up. The button buck come out into the field.
The doe
was missing.
come out by himself. The doe is now missing.
And now the friend saw a doe with a
and 2
giant.
miles away, a friend saw a doe with a giant.
Yep.
So, so I now, the next day, I feel I have a couple days. The next day, it's raining, particular wind. So,
can I ask you,
yes.
Why do you feel like you have a couple days?
Because he's going to be with her for a couple days.
So wherever she goes,
he's with her for 2 or 3. I felt I had 2-3 days.
Gotcha.
And he will, when he's done, he will return.
Okay.
I felt he would come back.
Oh, I see where this is going.
So, so that day, I think it was raining, and I'm basically now in his bedroom.
Yep. You went in, slipped in, hung a set.
Where I saw him stand, I just kind of went in there, surveyed the situation, backed up 100 yards or whatever, and felt I needed good entrance and exit, and there was a little creek ditch, water that kind of came in there, and I got hung, and I got up the tree, I didn't have much with me, and got it hung, kind of got over here, climbed another tree, and cut a couple mulberry branches down, and it was that where I hung was surrounded by standing corn. So then I just waited. I needed a particular wind, and my plan was to hunt a morning when things got right.
Why? I know this was probably 10, 11 years ago. Oh, no, this has been longer than
probably
that.
Longer than that.
It's longer than that.
I just, because number one, I kind of felt that he didn't walk a whole lot in the evenings. I had never seen him.
You think he was coming back into his bedding after a night out?
I mean, my plan was to get on him. I was gonna come in early a morning and try and get on him coming back to bed. I had no pictures. I had no nothing. I just putting faith on he was coming back.
He's coming back to bed.
He was coming back. So I think I hunted it one time. Got in a couple hours ahead of time. Hunted it, nothing. Got down, slipped back out the creek. And then my mom's birthday, October 21st. I think I got in hour and a half, 2 hours early, and I needed I think a southeast wind, southeast wind, just kind of blowing over some houses or whatever, or blowing towards a road, and I got in good, and in the dark, it's pitch dark out, and I hear in the creek, I hear splashing in the creek, walking, and then I hear.
It's a pretty good grunt call, by the way.
That's a good one.
And then next thing you know, nothing. And mind you, this is a standing cornfield, and it's starting to get to where I can see. I can make light out, and 100 yards out in the standing cornfield, I can just see the tips of the standing corn going wiggling. So he walked 100 yards out in the standing cornfield in dead quietness, and I never heard one thing. I never heard him at all. So he is 100 yards out in the cornfield, and I got the glasses on him, and I can see his head turned sideways, and he is eating ears of corn, and I can just see the tops moving. And so then I'm watching him, and and I know where bed is. And so he then gets done, and he slips all the way through the standing corn, and he gets to the edge, and he is now at 50, 60, and he can either drop down in the creek, or he can do a 90-degree turn and walk my way before he comes into bed. And he stood there, and he did a 90-degree turn and walked right to me.
How far did you shoot him at?
25 yards.
How far was his bed from you?
Probably 75 or 80 yards.
So you caught him in between.
Yes, I caught him in between.
Why do you think he chose? What was it? The wind that he? Why did he stand there? What was he doing when he?
Yeah, I mean, when they go into their bed, he's going into his bed. I mean, is it? Am I saying go hunt? I mean, you never know exactly where where they're bedded. I would just had the. I guess I'm saying people. If you have a giant deer, do not, I'm saying, I mean, my tactic is I didn't plunge in, and I'm not hunting him, boom, right on top of him. I just watched. And then I saw him, saw where he lived, and then made the move.
What I heard from that story was that you took about 2 to 3 weeks, and I know it was even before that, but 2 to 3 weeks of observing, understanding, patience. You took your time, you made a plan, you executed it, and you killed a 200-inch deer.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Is that what you took away, Chris?
Oh, yeah. That's exactly.
I mean, don't go plunging in there and cutting and pruning and
because you would have went in there, you would have spooked him and never seen him.
Correct.
You would have never seen that.
Correct.
Deer. So did you kill him on the? I kind of got a little mixed up in the story.
October 21st.
Did you kill him
the second set? I think I sat it once.
So you never saw him the first set.
Did not see him.
He was still with the doe,
yes,
probably.
But I will say, the first time I sat it, I'm looking over the whole situation, and I'm like, I need to be able to shoot this inside corner, or I need to be able to shoot right here. And I shimmied up that tree.
What do you mean you shimmied up that tree?
Like I climbed. I climbed a mulberry tree.
You weren't in a stand?
Huh?
What do you mean?
So if I'm in my set here, and I sat there for 2 or 3 hours, and I kept looking at this tree that was 15 or 20 yards over here, and saw this limb that was like this, and said that limb needs to be cut. And I went in there, and it may have been a little bit of a breeze or whatever, but he could have been bedded 60 or 70 yards from me when I did this. And I went up, climbed that mulberry tree and just did a relief cut till that limb. I didn't make it go come crashing down, but I just did a relief cut until that mulberry tree limb just went like that.
And then you climb back down.
And then I climbed back down and got
climb
the hell
back
out
up
of
in
there.
your
No, I got out of there
you
about
got
that
out.
time.
And then you got back in the next morning?
No, I think it was the wind was right 3 or 4 mornings later. And I pretty much wouldn't have killed him if I would not have done that little relief
little
cut.
trim.
Yeah, that little trim job. Yeah.
That's a pretty unbelievable story. That is, nobody I know or nobody I've ever even talked to has gone to that level of dedication to kill a deer.
But I mean,
Seriously, have you?
But so we talked a little bit before the podcast. So what were your VDays or whatever? So I wanted to, once I knew he was there, and a big deer, a lot of big deer get killed with a doe on those October dates. If you're doing the Drury Deer cast or the whatever, you will see big deer will die that October when those 10% does come in, because it's usually the man with those does. But I wanted to get this deer killed before October the 28th, October the 30th, before. So I felt my VDays were up until October 28th. Like my wind right, my everything right, and I wanted to get him killed before the rut comes on. If you're chasing a big giant deer, you're not a rut fan. I mean, not a rut fan.
I usually have more questions, but I'm genuinely just listening and learning, because that was I'm sitting here thinking about my property, and I think my statement is that most hunters that kill mature deer, and myself included, we've probably gotten very lucky, or I feel like I've developed a
You're
feel.
banking on your vulnerable days start October. So your big deer this year, you're like banking on him getting on his feet, trying to find the first receptive doe.
I guess, I mean, hunting, how long, okay, let me back up. Have you ever, had you ever hunted that property before you killed that deer that year?
Yes.
Okay. How long did it take you? Okay, here's another question. Were other deer similar to this deer that you hunted that property?
So either the following year or 2 years, I think the following year or 2 years later, the deer that was hanging right there, the tall, narrow one,
Was the same spot.
the same spot, and there was probably a 220 there. Like he was there at rub out, and then gone.
Because do you think he was bullied by that
He
buck?
may have been ran out by that buck, or he just.
So how many years before killing this deer did you hunt that property? There's a reason why I'm asking.
Yeah, 1 or 2 years only.
In the first year of hunting that property, did you kill anything on that property?
No, that was the first deer.
That was the first year. Do you think
I can't say that I hunted it the previous year, even hunted it.
Or two?
I may not even hunted it.
My question is, because it took me, the properties that I hunt, I have a good feel for where I need to be, but like I move my stands. It feels like for the first year or two, I'm kind of meticulously dialing in my stands.
When I am hunting, when I'm hunting the opener or I'm hunting a giant, I don't have pre-hung stands. Like I don't pinhole myself to a pre-hung stand or whatever.
You make the decision in the moment.
That is correct. I'm observing everything, and I am making my decision on MRI, on most recent information.
So you're picking the VDays within your observations and what you're seeing on cameras or in person.
Correct.
Now,
because everything's different. It's different all the time.
When you come into the rut, do you have more of a set stand?
Then I have more
of a set stand set.
Correct.
Okay.
If my VDays are October the 28th to November the whatever, 15th, 16th or whatever through there. Then I have, rut stands that I'm hunting.
When do you feel like that change? And over 26 years, Joel, I know it's probably changed a little bit, but where do you feel like the observation and the meticulous, that's the word I want to use, meticulous hunting is the early season, because every buck is different and every situation is different in the early season, year to year to year to year. Like
Correct.
you said, you're not going to pinhole yourself. What's the date roughly where you feel like
October 28th.
October 28th?
I've done this a long time, and October 28th seems to be.
This is when you go to, these stands are going to be good stands.
Yes.
The stands that you've had.
October 28th is when, my if I do 4 rut camps, they're based on the calendars, unfortunately, and sometimes that first camp might start October the 24th, and we're just kind of biding our time till it seems like you're biding your time until the 28th. Now, I'm saying the 28th, if it's cool weather, definitely helps, if you're getting some cool evenings and but it's still October 28th, 29th, Halloween, up through there, it's still evenings, it's evenings kills at that time for us.
Yeah.
Still evenings.
This is really interesting because I'm thinking of what, 8 what?
Minutes.
8 minutes to what?
Till our hour.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, I was that almost
That went fast.
that went
Holy
fast.
shit.
I'm sitting here. I feel like I'm not asking any questions because I want to know from me personally. I'm like sitting here thinking about, because remember how I told you the last 4 deer I've killed have been in that last week, like October 20th to the November 1st. I haven't,
Because they're not with a doe yet. So, that wherever that October days was or whatever, then it's almost 30 days
Yes.
days after that till then.
What I learned about my property is if, I know where all the does bed or all the does live, and I just sit slightly back and I always watch the same deer follow the same path right in front of me every year, and they're mature, great bucks. And you just,
So, I mean, if your mineral sites are all does and family groups or whatever, and, then you're not, so don't go waste your time.
I don't.
Yeah, don't go waste your time hunting October 7th, October 10th. Just, you're basically just stinking your place up.
Yeah.
Just be patient.
Yeah.
And if you want to shoot a couple does, if we're shooting some does, don't go shoot does out of that places you're going to be hunting. We'll go corn over here, and because we can feed, and we'll go 150, 200 yards out of the way, start a corn pile, and try and slam a few does.
That doesn't bother them.
No.
About 150, 200 yards.
Yes. Just kind of don't go hunt in your core area.
Yeah.
And have areas, you said your does have places that you leave alone.
I don't go to them.
Yes, just leave them alone.
Yeah.
Let that be their area.
So I have friends that go out, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, friends that just go out and hunt the first day. I literally have friends that are like, you've been out hunting? I'm like, no. I don't go out hunting until October the 25th, and there's a reason, because I know my property, and I don't go out because I know October 25th I start seeing not bucks or deer, great bucks.
Yes.
Because I don't give about seeing does or small bucks. I want to, so I'm listening to what you're saying.
But where your doe groups are, and you don't have to hunt on top of them. A buck he can scent check them, 100 yards down or
I was
whatever.
just about ready to say, my stand is 100 yards away from the doe bedding area on the right side of the wind, and I only hunt when I get that north wind.
So you're safe. You don't bother nothing.
Nope. Yeah. And I took my cousin there, and I said, so this spot is for October the 25th through like November the 7th, and we don't go to the back stand until like November the 7th through like November the 21st. And he's like, why? And I explained exactly that, because then when the rut's on and they're chasing and that's all happening, then the back stand almost, because the does are back there and there's a lot happening back there.
So in the back of your mind, whether you know it or not, you established your VDays.
I did. And I didn't know it.
Yes.
I didn't know it. Because and that was my question about how long you hunted that property, because I was gauging like how.
So that property, I kind of feel was a get her done then, and then it's probably over.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
that property, once crops are ran,
Done.
leaves are fallen, it's probably a ghost town.
Do you still hunt this property?
I do not.
No,
Nope,
because
do
that's not even. I thought it was a property that you picked up and it kind of went away
No,
quickly too,
no,
right?
no. It was a property that a farmer kind of.
What's the score of the
Sorry,
game?
I'm watching the Reds in the background.
3-1.
Yes, the Reds just
Did
won
they win?
3-1. Yeah, game
Yeah.
over.
Good for them.
Yes,
Good for them.
beat the Cardinals.
Or you're not a no
Cincinnati Reds.
Cincinnati. You're not. I'm sorry. You're not a Guardians fan.
No,
No, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Reds.
Why?
Unfortunately, I mean, just because that's I grew up with the Big Red Machine.
Gotcha.
I grew up with the Big Red Machine. So.
Yeah, Joel was watching it when I came in, and then he went to turn it off. I said, "Just put it on mute. You can see it right over my head."
They like I either listen or watch a lot of games, and I get so up on them, and then. Yeah.
Do you go to games?
We usually go once or twice a year.
Do you?
A couple times a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I don't. Do we have to end? You want to end?
No, I mean it's all up to him. He's the one with a long day.
I want to end at 9:15. I know it's 5
No,
till.
that's fine.
Is
I
that
don't
okay?
care.
Because I want to get another drink. I gotta take a piss. Sorry, I do. Do you want another drink? I'll make you one.
You will?
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah, Chris,
I'm going to hand this to you, and then I know that Chris always has questions
Yeah, Chris has got a question. He's got some time to think about his questions.
because Chris has a new property. Do you have a mineral site in yet?
No, we haven't put it in yet. It's been Easter. We had family. He's been busy. I've been
Yeah,
busy. Yeah.
All right, we're going to get a mineral site. in.
Baseball, yeah, we
I already know where it's going to
baseball's
go.
Yeah. Joel,
I already looked at the map, and yeah.
he did hang
Joel's
his,
already went and walked the property.
Yeah. Joel's, you pull up into your yard, you look out, Joel's waving.
Lisa dropped me off. Yep, so, Monday. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If you see orange ribbons, I already got trees marked.
Yeah.
Wednesday, I'm in like the 10th row, AC/DC.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty,
I'm so freaking
that's pretty
jacked.
Michigan.
Huh? Yep.
So-
I think Ford Field, Michigan.
So Justine's question, my wife,
Yep.
her question was, are you leaving from Michigan to go down?
So we are correct. We are not stopping at our home.
That's what we wondered.
So here's another quick tidbit. You're gonna love this. So so we wake up Easter morning, and we're going to church, and so I get in my wife's vehicle, and my wife is 9 years younger than me. I grew up AC/DC, and
I didn't know that about
yeah,
Lisa.
Lisa's 9 years younger than me, and
She is much better looking than you.
isn't she though? I kind of definitely, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
I married up.
Yeah,
that's
you
for
did.
Sure. But so she has been, whenever we're going to a concert, we usually listen. So she's been listening to AC/DC, trying to get up on some AC/DC music, so she didn't look totally stupid. So Easter morning, we pull out of the driveway. We're driving down, and Hell's Bells, or is it Hell's Bells? It is. Yes. No. Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell is coming across the radio as we're driving to church Easter morning.
Yeah.
And I go, Lisa, I just do not feel good about this. And I kind of hit skip or whatever. Said,
God is looking down on-
We cannot be playing AC/DC Highway to Hell on Easter Sunday going to church.
I remember hearing that AC/DC was not allowed, if they played that song in certain venues, they wouldn't let them play that venue because they were like, we don't, that was a big deal when that song come out. Shout at the devil.
Shout at the devil.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you got Motley
Motley
Crue,
Crue.
Shout at the Devil,
Yeah.
and then you got AC/DC, Highway to Hell. If they played those songs, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, we're not, and then they got on stage and they said, let's rip it,
That's like if you ever saw who the heck played him? Val Kilmer. I know Val Kilmer just passed away, but the Doors movie. I don't know if you ever
I've
saw
never
the
seen
Jim
it, no.
Morrison Doors movie.
Nope.
So the Doors were getting ready to be on the Ed Sullivan Show,
Okay.
and which was live, and the Doors were told, "Baby, you can, or you make me higher," or whatever was the song,
Yeah.
and he was not allowed to say that on national TV. Baby, make me higher,
Yeah.
whatever, and so Jim Morrison said it on live TV,
Yeah.
and Ed Sullivan's like, "You'll never be on TV again."
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't go over well. We give Joel a couple more drinks. We'll give him a karaoke mic instead, and we'll have him going. So I was in. So real quick, why are you going? You're going to Michigan, ACDC, and then what are you doing?
And then my son-in-law, which is very strange to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
he graduates from Belmont University in Nashville on Friday, and then he gets on Sunday he gets commissioned in the Air Force, and then we're moving them all home.
Nice.
Yeah, moving them all home
Nice.
they'll be home for a couple months before they get deployed to Columbus, Mississippi.
Columbus, Mississippi.
Yep, Columbus, Mississippi.
No,
So,
it's gonna be a good weekend. See the family.
be a good weekend. We'll probably hit Broadway for a day. And,
Yeah.
And one of the people that hunt with me, they have a condo right off of Broadway, and I basically just kind of we do a little swapping, take some money off her hunt, and
Nice.
she lets me use the condo.
Nice.
And so it's good.
How far is that from your dad? Where you're going?
2 hours from my dad.
Are you gonna have time to?
So when we take him to Columbus, Mississippi, I drive right by my dad in Addison, Alabama.
Nice. Good.
Addison, Alabama.
Good.
So I'll be able to kill two birds with one stone. See my dad
How often do you get to see your dad now he moved down there?
once a year.
Yeah, that's a long
know.
way. It's a lot. Everybody's busy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So he probably doesn't.
And they are coming home in June for the reunion thing at the school, and they said this would probably be their last time traveling.
Really?
Yeah.
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 I mean, I think about my grandparents. It sucks to
Yes,
see
it
everybody
does.
get older.
And so they were. Hopefully, he doesn't listen to this, but they were at the wedding. And when you go, when people are in their late 70s and 80, and when it goes a year or 8 months to a year without seeing them,
Big difference.
people change at that age. They change a lot in 1 year.
Yeah.
They change a lot in 1 year. I mean, I saw them walking into the wedding venue, and it was kind of like, whoa.
Yeah, I hope my grandma and grandpa don't listen to this, but I don't feel like maybe it's because we see them every two. I don't feel like grandma and grandpa have really changed. I mean, they're
Because
late 70s.
if you see them all the time, you don't notice the change.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
or they're just found the.
Are they active? Your dad and
I mean, I think my dad still does a lot and everything. Yeah,
good.
like he's kind of still the handyman for everybody because he moved to Alabama, and that's kind of where a lot of his family was, and she has lots of kids and grandchildren, and my dad got remarried, by the way.
Yeah.
And when after my mom passed away, and he does lots of work for
That's
people.
awesome.
New windows, new doors, new.
That's great.
He built. I mean, they had just like a open porch out the back of their house. My dad enclosed it and made it a 4-season room and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's still doing
Yeah.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah. So
I learned a lot. As you learned a lot from your dad,
That's
I learned
right.
a lot from my dad.
That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, I don't know if everybody's as blessed to have a dad like I did or like you did, but I mean,
The skill of being able to do stuff on your own. Your water heater goes out, place your own water heater.
yeah.
Your furnace goes out, replace your own furnace.
Yeah.
You want to build a gazebo out back, go build a gazebo. There aren't a lot of people that,
Right.
people are suspect to happen to have other people do everything
Right.
for them. Yeah.
I mean, we were just hit by the tornado. You know this.
Yep.
We were hit by the tornado on March 14th, and it was an F4 tornado, and it did. I mean, we completely rebuilt our house, and I think at that time, the reason why I'm saying this is all of our family, Jesse and I, had only been married about a year or 2 years. That's bad. I should probably know that.
and
but-
you were at a hockey game, right?
Yeah, we were at a hockey game, and my dad called me, and he was the one that I took seriously. He called me and said, "You need to get home."
Did you answer a call the first time, or you just kind of looked at your phone?
I kind of ignored, and then
Yeah.
Justine started getting, and then my dad called me, and I picked up the phone. He said, "You need to get home." So we came home. But what was amazing to me is her side of the family, my side of the family knew it, but her side of the family was, I think, pretty amazed at what my dad And I did as quickly and as quick, and then like everybody on her side was like impressed with how everything turned out. They were like, "Wow, this is really nice," and we got it done in 6 months. And some people haven't even started their houses,
Right.
and they're all like, "How did you learn this?" And I pretty much went, "My dad. My dad was the one that taught me everything I know." And then he as a kid,
So where did your dad learn it all from?
his dad, and then it just go and so I mean it's I love my family. I feel like Tracy now. Shout out Tracy. I feel a little like you just I hate when people don't have great family systems, because I love my family. And as I've gotten older, like my friends Saturday night, my friends were teasing me. They're like, "Well, won't you come out? Won't you come out?" And I said, "Well, I'm with my grandma and grandpa." I was with my grandma and grandpa from 10 p.m. till 12:30 at night, just hanging out talking. I'm like, I'd much rather hang out with my family than I love my friends.
They stayed up till 12:30?
Oh hell yeah, grandma.
They're up they don't go to bed till about 2 a.m.
Yeah, grandma and grandpa will stay up till 2 a.m.
Then they sleep until 10.
Yeah,
till 10.
Not really. I mean,
grandma gets up about
Grandma-
8:30.
yeah,
Grandpa
they
gets up about 9:30.
yeah, I'd say.
Yeah,
I need to go.
Yeah.
I need to go visit
yeah.
them.
My grandma and grandpa are, my grandpa is, oh my God. On another podcast, we can tell stories about,
I would go if I would run out. So whenever I ran the ice cream shop, and if I freaking forgot to order something, I would go
See Grandma Betty.
I would go see Grandma Betty and get mix for my ice cream machine.
Yep, that's how I met I told you that. That's how I met your mom. Was my grandma Betty sent me to go get ice cream from Janice.
Yes, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I think Betty
Yeah.
come and got some from me before.
Yep. It was always little ice cream shops 30 miles away, changing ice cream, helping each other out. But yeah, that's fantastic. We got 5 minutes. I do want to ask a quick question, because I don't want to forget this question. How long? And I know you're gonna have a different perspective than most people, because you're doing this all the time. You're doing this on 40 properties a year. You're picking up a couple properties. You're losing a couple properties. So you're probably learning what, 2 to 3. Keep looking at. What are you guys watching now? What's over my head?
Nothing. We're good.
Okay.
Nothing.
You're learning 2 to 3
The only people that see that is is you.
Yeah. You're probably learning what, 2 to 3 properties a year?
Like brand new.
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah.
So you probably got it down to where when you walk into a property, Joel, or you're looking at from an aerial view, when you're picking properties and you get the property, how quickly do you learn? Because I'm trying to give people that listen, that are frustrated, they're sitting in the stand, they miss the big buck 150 yards away.
So I would say that that I get.
I probably need to finish the question. I do, right? I mean, because we do this.
Yeah.
How quickly do you learn that property and you go, okay, I have a game plan, and then you're successful, and it ends on killing a mature buck, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. How quickly does that develop for you personally?
I would say 80%, like pretty much, 80% dialed in, but
From walking on the property, like, I mean, the property day one, week one.
But
That pisses me
there
off.
is nothing better than I will say that I listen to the hunters, and what happens as far as they were 70 yards, and you start hearing. And then you just make a mental note of everything. And then in February, March, whenever I'm walking properties, and this was the stand that was 70 yards. And then you're walking and looking for new trees that I need to maybe push in. But I mean, properties.
They're pretty much the eyes in the sky for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, they can probably. Go ahead.
But you're also whenever you are picking stands and picking sites for clients that get hunted over and over, it's probably a little different than if I'm hunting just by myself personally or whatever.
Why is it different? I lean into the mic like the mic's not right here. Go ahead. Why is it different?
Why is it different? Just because
Do you take more risk?
probably
Get a little bit more aggressive?
So basically you are, sorry everybody that hunts with me, but you have to kind of assume that you have
No, I get it.
idiots or morons in trees, and you just need to.
It's not that. I don't think
mean,
it. I don't. I
It's
know.
not.
I
but
know what
it's
you're
just-
saying.
But I need to be
More cautious.
correct.
Not to
more
blow
cautious.
you're not trying to blow the entire
more
property
cautious.
up.
More cautious.
So
I mean, you don't want to just have. Sorry, you don't want to just have a deer. I'm not into having a deer big seeing stand where you see. I like kill. So you just try to push forward just a little bit.
Yeah. Do you have your clients ask like, Joel, is this a new Do they get used?
I mean, you get tired of whenever you're taking everybody out and they just wear you out with what are we looking? What am I looking for here? What am I?
Yeah.
That kind of gets old after a
I
while.
mean,
but-
so
if you're a customer out there, just say, hey man, how was your day? And just be happy to be hunting and you know what you're looking for.
I feel like we talked about this. Well, I don't think we talked about this. We talked about it on the previous couple
We
of
did.
where
About being a good customer and being
not even
what?
that. I was at a young age. I knew not to do that to you. I knew not to. Right? No, you're kind of giggling. Did I not?
I think so. Yeah.
Like when we were in the truck or something, traveling or driving, like to Kentucky. I didn't badger you about.
No.
I'm not your hunter, but like I didn't
And people want to, when they get in the tree, send me pictures. And
It's like, how about just hunt? I put you in a tree stand for a reason.
yes.
Yeah.
That kind of wears on you a little bit.
Yeah, I bet. But I think, if you think about Joel, I know your perspective, but like if I was coming to hunt with Joel Snow and I knew your reputation, they were probably excited. They're probably
Probably so.
overly excited, and they're probably like, what are we hunting? What are we doing? What's going on? They're coming into deer camp like you said, this is their favorite week of the year. They're all jacked up. It's on their
I know.
it's on their
I know.
mind. So yeah, no, I get 100% what you're saying. Going back to my question, I asked the question because I think a lot of hunters and we've said this, I've said this several times, you are doing what a hunter does through the season 40 times. So you get 40 opportunities to do this, roughly.
So,
right?
I guess the best word of advice is to, if it's a new property, kind of start cautiously and then just, then observe, and then midday make a little move or whatever.
There you go.
That's what I did in the beginnings when I hunted.
That's a great tip.
I would probably be cautious and whenever it's November the 4th or 5th, and when you see 4 bucks do the same thing, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good tip.
Now you said something earlier. You said when it rained or something about you mentioned that twice where it rained and you moved in and out.
Washing my scent away.
Your scent.
Yeah,
because
my scent away.
I've always heard, please correct me if I'm wrong, I've always heard that a light rain actually intensifies the deer smell.
So I know if it is bone dry, like bloodhounds struggle, even, as far as their nose and smelling or whatever, and I'd say a little bit of moisture or whatever intensifies the smell.
So you're saying try to go in.
I like a good rain,
a medium heavy rain,
a good rain
because it's not
washing stuff away.
Yep. Okay. It's diluting it. It's
correct. Yep.
Now, I don't know if we brought this up on other podcasts, but one more little thing to bring up. But you said something about putting some on the bottom of your boots. I thought so, Joel. My question I thought you said something to me about like, do you take any like I thought you said something about like a deodorant or something. Like, is there a certain brand or do you ever rub anything on the bottom of your shoes?
VS1.
VS1. Okay. What's
VS1?
Is that like a?
It basically smells like deer smells like a deer.
Okay.
And it's just kind of a white, just looks just like a stick of.
Do you still do that?
Deodorant. Yep.
So anytime you're walking in and out of the stand or checking cameras, or you have to get off a 4-wheeler or truck, you're wiping.
So basically, if I am, if a customer, I pulled up in my truck or my 4-wheeler and it's dark and he's heading down, and anytime I think that there is a chance that a deer is going to cut his track or whatever, I'll just hold his boot up and rub VS1 on both of his feet and send him to the sand.
Chris, can you imagine? He's sitting on the edge of the. Give me your boot.
I do.
Give me your boot.
I hold her leg up. I hold her leg up and rub VS1. Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
It's kind of like listen to Trevor on our last podcast. Listening to you makes me feel like I'm not dedicated enough to deer hunting. And I think some people need to listen and not get discouraged because it's your job.
Just to come back to the whole turkey thing.
Oh God. Now he's going to say something. He's going to get, okay, go ahead.
People in southern states that don't have big deer kill lots of turkeys.
I know what you're saying.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. People they're within a bunch of states with a bunch of turkeys, and they don't have big deer, so they kill a lot of turkeys.
So you're saying if you kill one turkey in Ohio, it counts for 5 down south?
I'm saying I could kill 300 turkeys if I lived in the South.
So I think
a turkey's a turkey.
This comment.
What's harder?
I didn't mean
the Grand Slam of turkeys or a 200-incher. That's about the most damnedest. That's the worst. The worst question I've ever heard.
Joel, when I said that, I knew you were going to have frustration towards that. I didn't mean it like that. When I asked that question, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't, and you brewed on it, didn't you? I didn't mean it that way.
I brewed on it. I did.
I was just saying, like, Trevor takes it very passionately.
He does.
I was just saying, it's like if.
So that's all I was thinking was he takes it passionately because they don't have no big deer.
They don't have big deer. You're right. Well, but doesn't mean that he hasn't gotten good at killing turkeys, or he's
good at killing turkeys.
Yeah, he's great at killing turkeys. Yes. He's fantastic. But like if it was vice versa, you would be, in my opinion, if like you guys were different lives. You would be.
He would be good at killing deer, and I'd be good at killing
exactly
turkeys.
Right.
Yes.
That was my point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'll
give you that.
When I sat here and I asked that question, as soon as it came out of my mouth, and I went, "Oh my!" That came off so harsh.
Yeah, I thought that too.
I even followed Joel out, and I said, "Dude, I didn't mean to say it like that." And he's like, "Oh yeah, it didn't bother me." And then he gets a couple drinks, and he brings up this podcast.
Truth serum.
I did not mean that question that way last podcast, and anybody that watches it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Jeez. I had a lot of fun.
That was a great time.
We got done, and they were like 2.5 hours. I'm like, what?
Yeah, they were. It was just so. It's easier when it's not two guys, and like if you have like a deadhead moment, like
2.5 hours. I felt like I only talked for 20 minutes. I just kind of listened.
Trevor was just like, showing videos. So, Tracy's pretty quiet. I mean, honestly, Tracy's
pretty quiet.
He's pretty soft spoken.
Yeah, he is.
I don't mean this in a weird way, but I think Tracy and Landon are sweethearts. I don't mean that in a weird way. I just mean they're like very sweet people.
Yeah.
And then Trevor's, he's not. He's nice. He's just like, he kind of reminds me
of you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I left and I drove home and I go, you're not a good hunter. You're not a good outdoorsman. I'm like thinking about you and Trevor, and I'm like, you need to do more, Cory. Like, you need to be better.
The whole Croc thing's got me like, what the fuck? It's freaking 10 degrees and he's wearing Crocs.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I was like, the last day, I was like, let me see your feet. What the hell do they look like?
We were sitting right there, and you said, and he pulled them out, and he has giant feet, and they're all dirty.
I mean, they look like Aborigine feet. Yeah. I mean,
his like toes. You know what's wild about? Did you notice his toes spread out? Because like they say, people that walk barefoot, because we wear shoes are like this. People that walk barefoot,
his were spread out.
It's more. It comes from like way back, like when we used to not have
caveman days,
caveman
like
days,
Neanderthal man.
Yes, your feet are actually supposed to be spaced out.
When he pulled his Croc off, you could see a big gap between all of his feet, and they were the most callous
from not wearing a sock, holding them all together.
And the Croc is so wide, it's like walking barefoot. So So I mean, his feet were so calloused and so dirty, and I was just like, Trevor. He's a wild man.
Landon kicked my ass in 9-ball pool the entire time after the podcast.
Yeah, the whole time Landon and Chris are over there playing 9-ball. Trevor and I are just talking about the podcast.
We played 9-ball for probably about an hour and a half after
They did not look good. They did not look good the next morning.
I asked him, I said, are you guys going turkey hunting in the morning? He's like, oh yeah, we'll be fine. I'll sleep on the way home. He said, Landon will figure it out. They didn't care. So, no, hey, great episode.